Right, well, welcome, guys. Blue Beetle's dead on arrival already, by the sounds of it. The latest box office forecast for Blue Beetle is insanely low. Now, like insanely low. I'm really surprised. I don't know how much stock I put in this, whether it's gonna go as bad as this, because this is atrocious. This movie was made for very little money, but if this is right, it's still going to lose money. Crazy. Love a bit of Strays. So this is the other film that we've got long range box office forecast for. Why do I like Strays? Because I've got a border terrier. So, yeah. Anyway, let's take a look. Right. I mean, it's honestly, prepare to be shocked. Opening weekend. 12 million to $17 million. What? Total range domestically for Blue Beetle, if you're being kind, $55 million. That's awful. This movie was made on a budget of, I think it was like around $120 odd million, something like that. So you got marketing to chuck on top of it and theatre cuts, right? So even if you're just doing production budget, it needs to make somewhere in the region of, I don't know, $260 odd million to start breaking even. You got to add the marketing on top of that as well. This will lose money. This will actually lose money if this is right. What? Is the age of the superhero over? Is it over? I have disputed many times that it's not superhero fatigue, it's bad superhero movie fatigue. People are sick of bad movies. And this does look generic. You know, it looks like a Marvel Phase 1 movie. It doesn't look anything different. There's nothing to separate it from anything else. You know, outside of any other superhero movie you've seen, it looks like a dime a dozen. Very generic. But this is awful. I had not expected it to be as bad as this. So what does Box Office Pro list the pros as? The DC brand has a modest strength of its own. Tell that to the Flash. And Blue Beetle, being an unfamiliar to the masses character, might make this film feel fresh among audiences. Okay. Appeal to Latinx, piss off using that word. Appeal to Latin families could be notable, particularly with the back half of the summer and early fall seeing a relative lack of youth-friendly content hitting the big screen. That's it. That's their pros. The pros is Blue Beetle, no one knows who he is. Oh my god. And then the pro is Latinx, so maybe they'll go watch it, I guess. Jesus. This is awful. Absolutely awful. Now, it recently was revealed as well, by the way, that James Gunn and Peter Safran refused Blue Beetle production 2 days of reshoots. 2 days! They didn't even want to pay for 2 days of reshoots. Now, that tells me, ladies and gentlemen, that they have no confidence in this film. That they know this is a bust. And what they did, the interesting thing about this movie is, it looked like it was going to be a good movie. Why? Because, and hear me out, because it was originally developed for HBO Max. It was a streaming film. And then they obviously were like, oh, you know, it looked like they had confidence in it and decided to push it out to theatres. Because why else would you risk losing, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars? Oh, goodness. This is terrible. So it sounds like, yeah, they don't have any confidence in it themselves. 2 days of reshoots, they didn't even want to pay for that. That's bad. So what are the cons? Well, with the comic book era not being the novelty it once was, audiences have become increasingly selective about which superhero films they spend money on in theatres. To that end, early tracking models for this title are trailing Shazam! Fury of the Gods by a fair margin. Wow. So it's even worse than Shazam. Competition from mid to late summer family-friendly holdovers like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem and Haunted Mansion, plus action films like Meg 2 and Gran Turismo could diminish potential in the waning days of summer. This is genuinely bad. This movie is completely dead on arrival. They shouldn't have had that stupid line in the trailer. Batman's a fascist. All this nonsense. I mean, if this is true, this film is dead on arrival. This will lose Warner Brothers hundreds of millions of dollars. No word of a lie. It will lose them hundreds of millions of dollars. And this is the first film under David Zaslav's leadership as well, by the way. This was shot entirely under his leadership. It was developed, not with him, but he pushed it out from an HBO Max streamer film to a wide release. You thought they'd have a bit more confidence in it. So this is dead massively. And just to, appease my border terrier affinity, let's talk about Strays. If you haven't seen the trailer, it's good dumb fun. And it even has a has a bigger potential box office range. I love that. Okay, if Strays opens higher than Blue Beetle, that is absolute comedy gold. That's so funny. So what are the pros? A strong voice ensemble led by Jamie Foxx and Will Ferrell lends itself well to an R-rated comedy, hitting theatres in late summer when films like Sausage Party and Good Boys have taken off at the box office in previous years. Universal has a reputable history of turning adult-centric content into mid-range success, as is the case of the recent Cocaine Bear. Early social trends are also somewhat more encouraging than those of Violent Night at the same point before release. And what's the cons? Depending on the severity of fictionalized animal abuse portrayed in the film, audience appeal and eventual reception is somewhat difficult to predict. A lean on male audiences is also expected. On the subject of Cocaine Bear, Strays hasn't quite reached the pre-release social metrics of that sleeper hit. So here you have it, just as a sort of a quick breakdown. Yeah, Blue Beetle is going to be a bomb. Even the Meg 2 is projected to be better than Blue Beetle. That's bad. Even Gran Turismo is projected to hit about the same as Blue Beetle. But Strays? Nah, mate. $25 million more in the can. Love it. Oh, dear, oh, dear. So, yeah, Blue Beetle, dead on arrival. Awful, awful. $12 million opening. I don't... Honestly, I almost don't believe it. I can't see it doing 12 million. Opening weekend, $12 million. God, that really does show the state of the box office and how much more discerning the audience has become. So anyway, leave your thoughts down below. Love to hear it. Cheers, guys. Take care. Bye-bye now.